I'm going to make this clear from the beginning that let's not overreact to preseason football. And that's something that I really believe in, because a couple simple things here is sometimes we see players that have bad preseasons, guys like quarterbacks or top picks have a bad preseason and turn out to be stars in the NFL or turn out to be phenomenal rookies. CJ Stroud last year, he was a guy that didn't look very good in preseason and became a top 5 to 10 quarterback in the NFL season as a rookie. And the other side happens too. There are times, we've seen it many times, where there are preseason standouts. There are guys that are studs in preseason. There are those hard knock stories, when you watch the show and there's that guy that everyone loves and thinks is going to have an amazing NFL career and gets cut by the end of the show because it just does not translate the same as other places or other times. So that happens. But at the same time, there are things you can always try to take away from preseason. And to me, it's pretty simple. Is I was just interested to see how this team came out around Mike Macdonald, how the defense looked even in preseason, because it's a completely different defense. Now, offense, we're not going to see any Geno Smith this week. So we saw some Sam Howell, but I know what our offense is going to be. Now, I'm hoping it's better than it was last year with Ryan Grubb, being here instead of Shane Waldron. But I know what a Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker, offensive line getting improved would be very helpful, which it is with Connor Williams and the draft picks. But I know what that wide receiver, running back, quarterback situation looks like if you have an offense that's running the right way. And I'm hoping that Ryan Grubb runs it the right way, so we'll know what it will be. But the defense is what really intrigues me. And when we watch guys like Devin Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen, and we had Dotson out there, and we got to watch some Byron Murphy, and we got to just see a lot of, we got a couple plays of Uchenna Nwasu. We got to just slightly see a piece of what this, Seahawks new defensive players are going to look like, having a rookie like Byron Murphy out there, which to me was one of the bigger takeaways. He missed a sack. It was a nice tackle and sack that he was going to be able to have, but it was missed. But other than that, there was double teams. There was a lot of plays where he was requiring a lot of attention, and I think a lot of people were happy about it. But overall, what I'm seeing is, and I once again do not want to overreact, but I see the fact that whatever Mike Macdonald does with defenses, it seems to work. Even if it's second team against second team, the Chargers second team offense in the Seahawks second team defense, or when it was some of the first team guys. In general, whatever schemes he's putting out there, whatever plays he's getting done, seem to work. It worked with the Ravens. It worked at Michigan. Everywhere he's gone, he's made defenses a little more complex than an offense can handle, and it always ends up being pretty good. It goes to the same theory you see with Sean McVay on the offensive side. And I'm going to try to stop using that example because, there are different coaches. One's offense, one's defense, but that's the comparison a lot of people use because of the age, that they're both young head coaches, and Sean McVay was the offensive guru genius and Mike Macdonald's supposed to be the defensive one. But we saw that whatever Sean McVay does on offense, it's difficult for defenses to understand because he just has a little more advanced thinking, advanced mind, not an old school method to it. And the Seahawks, quite frankly, were stuck in an old school method with Pete Carroll. And now we're bringing in a guy in Mike Macdonald who helped transform Michigan's defense. I know he left when they won a national championship, but their defense was really bad before he was there with Harbaugh. And he ended up helping them turn into a really good situation, a good program defensively. And then they won a national championship. And then, of course, John Harbaugh stole him from Jim Harbaugh. He went to the Ravens, and he turned guys that were about to be NFL busts like Patrick Queen potentially, and turned a lot of guys that, were average NFL players into great defensive players, just like I think he's going to do with, guys like Julian Love, or Tariq Woolen's going to have a really good third year after a little bit of a sophomore slump. And he's going to work on guys like Dotson and Kayvon Wallace. And I think he's going to find a way to turn them into a lot better of players than they were before. And the one part of preseason that was exciting for me is just to see the hard-nosed defense, the way the players were going out there 110%. It did, whether, like I said, it was first or second string offenses or third string offenses, they were keeping that offense struggling. 16-3, I don't really care about the score. It's more about the fact that the lack of first downs, the lack of, plays that were made downfield, and the inability for the Chargers to move the ball. In general, it's just a good nod to Mike Macdonald that he is doing something right. And on the other side of the football, I think this is just good in general to see is that Sam Howell looked pretty competent. PJ Walker a little bit, but really Sam Howell, to me, it was good to see no crazy turnover like he usually does. And you see it sometimes. I mean, we've seen some players in preseason throw 2 or 3 picks or, get a little hectic. But he looks like he can be a very competent backup quarterback, the same type of quarterback as Drew Lock was for the Seahawks. Maybe just like we needed Drew Lock last year for a game or two, and he did that crazy comeback against the Eagles. You might end up, if Geno Smith gets hurt for a week or two, you might need somebody like a Sam Howell to step in for a week or two, and those type of games are important. The Seahawks missed the playoffs last year, but they were 9-8. If you lose a game against the Eagles of a Drew Lock, you're all of a sudden losing record on the season and no chance at the playoffs. So having a decent backup has, been helpful for that. But overall, offense looked okay with the backup situation, but the defense, I just like the pressure I was seeing. You'll see a lot. Tyrese Knight, the rookie linebacker, looked good, made a lot of big plays. He had the top PFF grade out of anybody on the defense, even though, I'm not too concerned about preseason PFF grades. It's just an interesting observation. But there was plays being made. Tariq Woolen almost with that interception, and Dotson was, all over moving. Leonard Williams made a couple big pushes on the line. Byron Murphy was getting double teamed sometimes and causing a lot of pressure. It was good to see a lot of those top guys. I mean, as you're seeing right now, you can see Woolen, Mafe, Love. We got a lot of the starting defense on the field, if not almost everybody on the field for one point. And that's the part that I was excited to see is, early on, I know as a backup quarterback, Herbert's wasn't going to play. He's hurt. But they were making plays. They were being aggressive. They were, all over the place, which is what Mike Macdonald wants. What does he say? He wants it to feel like there's 13, 14 guys on the field when there's not in reality. There's 11 guys on defense, but he said he wants them to feel like there's 12, 13, 14. And you can see the way they're moving around, changing things up. I found it interesting the way they were moving around the line. Jaron Reed and Leonard Williams and Mafe and Uchenna Nwasu, there's things just moving around at all times. So at the end of the day, it seems like what the plan is to make it a fly all around defense, make it a defense that, we are excited to watch and change and make it more like a Ravens defense is probably going to happen. And we got a slight taste of that from a preseason game here against the Chargers. At the end of the day, I said at the beginning, I'm not going to take too much out of preseason football, but it's never a bad thing to go win a preseason game 16-3. It's not a bad thing that, especially defensively, I would say. I mean, I feel like the defense is more likely to show good signs or bad signs of success in a preseason than an offense, because the offense is so many times of offensive linemen who aren't starters and the second or third string quarterback. And, the third string Kenny McIntosh got a lot of play as running back, which last year he didn't really, and this year they're saying it's a maybe. We have Charbonnet and Walker. So the defense, though, you actually end up getting to see a little bit more of, what you're going to see in the regular season. We got to see a lot more time from starters that you're going to see. And for us, you got a lot more time from guys we're going to mix in that end up playing a little bit more than the mix-in of offense. So it's good to see, to give up just 3 points and have a defense show out. It's just fun to see that as week one when you have a new coach that is supposed to be that defensive guy. Now, what I'm really excited for is hopefully, I'm guessing it's going to be the third week. I don't even know if Geno will play next week's preseason, but I'm guessing they'll get a quarter or two of all starters, offense and defense, on the third week. That's where it's going to be fun to see a full half, hopefully, of offense and defense from the starters. It won't be something we get crazy takeaways from. They're not going to show their whole playbook, obviously, but I'm excited to see where that goes. I think this year, in past years, I've been on this YouTube channel for a few years now. I haven't even done a preseason talk. Like, I've even mentioned the word preseason on a video. But that was because not playing a lot of starters, a coach that we've had for 13, 14 years, whatever it's been, there was nothing for me to observe. Like, I'm not going to observe to you the seventh round draft pick, third string defensive lineman. because I don't know his 6 snaps. I'm not sure what I saw out of that. Like, okay, there was a good 6 snaps. I can be excited about that, but I can't do a whole talk about that. For me, I guess moving into this offseason and this preseason, it's mostly about just seeing how the small things work out, how the coaching details work out. How's Mike Macdonald act? I know it sounds crazy, but we know how Pete Carroll is laughing. Even when he's arguing with the ref, he ends up joking with him and laughing. Like, learning the personalities, learning the personnel, learning the team. I'm excited to see all of that. But at the end of the day, every single week I have a little more belief in the fact that Mike Macdonald is that defensive guru, and he is that Sean McVay of defense, the term that I said I'm going to stop using so much. I feel that every single week coming more and more, and I'm excited to get those next couple of weeks fast-forwarded so we can get to the final real test, is when we see the Broncos on September 8th and playing against a Sean Payton coach and offense that actually looked pretty good in preseason. I think Bo Nix looked like he was a legitimate starter in his first preseason game. It wasn't awful, and you had some decent rookie showouts of J.J. McCarthy and guys like Bo Nix and Caleb Williams. But we'll see. I think it's going to be Bo Nix starting for the Broncos, and it's going to be against Sean Payton. You're going to have a young Mike Macdonald, trying to see what that first week is. But in the meantime, I'm just going to test out, just watch his, what is he like as a person? What is this team like? How are they rallying around him? And what does the defense specifically in the preseason look like? And so far, so good. Defense gave up 3 points. I think it was like 8 first downs total in 4 quarters, which is very good, especially with first and second string guys going in and out. So happy with it. I hope it continues to look good. And we're a couple weeks away from regular season finally. So stay tuned. I love y'all. We'll talk soon.